Hello, everybody, and welcome to Deep Dive Zone, a Sonic the Hedgehog replay podcast for fans of all shapes and sizes. And guys, we have our final episode of the classic Sonic video games tonight.
Yeah, that's kind of weird to say.
Yeah, it took us 12 weeks. That's basically 3 months. Give or take the weeks that we took off.
Damn, I didn't realize it was that long already.
Yeah, no, me too. That's crazy what we've covered so far.
I guess time flies when you're having emotions.
Yes.
Yes, well, you could say that time flies when you're having fun, but if we're honest, these games that we're talking about tonight are not very fun. We intentionally thought that to send the classic Sonic games out with a bang, we'd put 3 of the worst, or at least mimetically bad ones, at the end. And then Sonic's Gameworld just kind of ended up here because we didn't really know where else to put it. So
pretty much.
Tonight, we are talking about Sonic Labyrinth, Sonic's Gameworld, Sonic's Schoolhouse, and Sonic Jam for the Tiger Electronics Gamecom, which I have to say the full title of so that you'll grasp the gravity of that title.
God help us all.
But to kick things off, I think we'll start by a farewell to the Game Gear with Sonic Labyrinth.
Can I say I'm very happy to be done with the Game Gear? I don't want to see another Game Gear ever again. Unless it's Scott Tails Adventure. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, Tails Adventure was quite good. The rest were...
Yeah.
I don't know what was wrong with the Game Gear. I honestly don't.
It's weird. It's not like the Game Gear was just exclusively bad games. I think it had good games on it. Just Sonic didn't do Game Gear well.
It's a very weird thing because when I hear people talk about the Game Gear, they say that, like, oh, the Sonic games were the best games on the Game Gear. And so, I don't know. Maybe it is mostly bad games.
I can tell you now, that's bullshit.
I will never know because I'm not going to play any Game Gear games outside of these ones.
I mean, fair, but I know full well there are better Game Gear games because I've played better Game Gear games.
Sonic fans be Sonic fans.
True.
As a Sonic fan, I know how that works. I feel like they're very biased in what they're saying, is my point when they say the Sonic games are the best games. I'm guessing they probably haven't really fully played the entire library.
Probably not. I feel like that happens a lot with fan bases.
Bias is an energy drink, and we're gonna chug it.
Oh god, yes.
I don't even know what the hell that means.
I don't know what it meant either, but I agree.
Yeah, so Sonic Labyrinth. This is one of the Sonic games that, like, the most people would uncontroversially agree was bad back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, before it became controversial to not like Sonic 06. Whereas this game, it just doesn't have enough love or support to really be defended in that manner.
So I will at least say that maybe this is a controversial take. I think this is one of the better Sonic Game Gear games.
Oh boy, okay.
I think
just compared to everything else.
I think there's a way that you can say that, and what it is... Okay, so this is an exploring things game?
I think at the end of the day, in a weird way, this is the game I kind of wish 3D Blast was. Okay. So, like, actual... Well, no, I can't even say that, because it's not an actual Sonic game still.
It's basically the same thing as 3D Blast. It's an isometric environment that you walk around with not great controls, and you have to find, well, in this game it's keys, and in 3D Blast the birds are the keys, and you just gotta take them to the exit.
And when you get hit, you drop all of them.
Right.
It's super weird. Sonic in this game, this is part of the plot to this game. The plot to this game is that Eggman sneaks into Sonic's house, which Sonic has a house, apparently.
Yeah, I thought Sonic was homeless.
Eggman replaces Sonic's shoes with slow-down boots.
It's truly got a Shakespearean plot.
Sonic walks slow everywhere, and your only way of going fast in this game is to spin dash, and it makes you bounce off stuff like crazy.
I find it funny that the game is obviously very slow, but at the end of the zone, it gives you like a speed rating that's like ridiculously fast. I'm like, I did not go that quickly.
Yeah, I was a little confused by that.
It even puts a timer on you, so it still encourages you to go fast.
Well, because what I'm guessing is they don't want you walking. The designers are trying to subtly point to you that, hey, maybe you should just spin dash everywhere.
Yeah, just use this unwieldy thing, especially in the lower levels, which have bottomless pits.
Yeah, that's a funny thing. I actually didn't end up playing this game very differently from the way I play regular Sonic games because I kind of take them slow.
Yeah, it's just a very weird environment that you travel through, and I don't especially have anything to say because it's kind of just like what 12 levels long, and they're all the exact formula we just described. The only difference is how many doors that lead to other doors in ways that don't make sense you have to go through.
They don't have a whole lot of. I thought it was really weird that for some reason every Act 1, 2, 3, and 4 has the same theme. Like the Act 1 theme is the same for each labyrinth, and Act 2 theme is the same for each labyrinth, etc. It's weird that I've never seen music done that.
I don't even remember the game soundtrack that well.
It's
I've always
fine.
Yeah, I've always listened to the soundtrack separately afterwards.
Then maybe I should probably start doing that more because at least with this game, I don't think this game was specifically bad. I think it was just unmemorable to me, and that's why I don't remember the music.
Yeah, it isn't super memorable, and really, it's kind of generic in that it seems almost not like a Sonic game. I mean, obviously you're playing Sonic, and it's obviously not the standard gameplay, but even aside from that, I was like weirded out because like the enemies don't even look like badniks a lot of the time. Some of them are robots, but some of them are just bubbles with eyes, which are hilarious, by the way. But usually the environments are at least Sonic-like, and not really either. So it's basically just Sonic in some weird labyrinths.
I kind of feel like this is one of those games where you could just replace the main character with a stick figure and you wouldn't lose anything.
Yeah, there's nothing about it that really says Sonic other than maybe the bosses, even though the bosses are piss easy.
It depends on the boss.
Okay, the one that's a wall of spikes is not that easy.
Oh, well, okay. I would actually say that was one of the easier ones because you just get behind it and you destroy it.
Okay, well, I guess I'll just go fuck myself then.
I was more talking about, what is it? It's like a crab thing where, like, you have, like, 0.1 seconds to react before it ambushes you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that thing. Yeah, that's annoying.
Speaking of the bosses, though, the one thing that I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of Sonic-like, although it is still uncharacteristic, is the final boss, if we can skip there. It's absolutely hilarious. It's just an Eggman's face that's, like, attacking you, and it's very funny.
Yeah, no, and I don't even think we're really skipping there because
the game's so short.
It's really short, and that's probably the reason that this, along with Spinball 8-Bit, was one of the only Game Gear games that I beat as a kid on Sonic Adventure DX.
Interesting. I'm surprised you didn't get frustrated because I'm going to be honest, I did not finish the game. I got, I think, through the third labyrinth and gave up on the first act of the fourth labyrinth.
I did get upset at the last levels because they became so labyrinthine and maze-like.
Yes.
I ended up just watching a playthrough of the last labyrinth. Which...
Yeah, it is designed to waste your time. So I did look up a map, but I did finish it.
All right. I thought about looking up a map, but I was like, I really don't think I had that much of a different experience just watching a playthrough than I would have being frustrated playing the game.
Well,
it's not a particularly difficult game when it comes to like skill-based challenges.
No, I just found it extremely frustrating.
That's what I was supporting you because I'm saying other than the puzzle of the labyrinth, that's all you're missing. It's not like there's much difference between playing and watching. Is my point.
Yeah, it's not Twitch reaction; it's attrition.
Okay, yeah.
The problem of the mazes is that they run down your timer more than anything.
Well,
I know
point
that a bit.
In the podcast, I am abusing save states in every game I play. So I just save state, scout ahead, rewind time, and it works fine.
That's honestly,
But you see, I was not able to use save states for this game because for some reason, Kega, when I tried to load this game specifically and no other games, stops recognizing my controller. I have no idea why it did that. So I actually did boot this up in Sonic Adventure DX to play it.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that's dedication,
and
man.
You beat it, you said?
Well, it's not that hard in that case, especially since, even if you do die, the game lets you choose how many lives you get on the options menu.
Right, I noticed that.
So of course I just chose 10 lives.
Oh,
if you're
damn.
good, you can also get an extra life before every boss.
Yeah, I remember that. That's kind of an interesting idea.
For some reason, the game has no rings except right before the boss battle and during the boss battles.
That was
and
weird.
It just throws a billion at you. It's so weird.
Well, that's the only place that you can die to hazards other than pits, isn't it? Because normal enemies just make you fall over.
I think that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Speaking of pits, the first time I fell in a pit, I laughed because I was like, huh, what's going on? And then it plays a cutscene, and it's just lava spikes, and Sonic just dies. And I'm just like, okay.
That's the death pit in whatever the machine level is, yeah. So the game is janky and slow, but it's far from the most painful thing I've played for this show.
No, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't super engaging, but there were a few moments here and there. I remember there's this one bit where there's a key on top of spikes that shoot up and retract back and forth. And I remember I was like, okay. So I just got a time because it's in a corner, to spin dash, bounce off the back, and harmlessly grab the key and not get hit by the spikes. But it was the last key that I needed to collect in that level. So I timed it perfectly, but then Sonic stopped and said, oh, I'm in The Legend of Zelda. I have to hold up the keys and be like, I got the keys. And then the spikes hit me. And I'm like, wow.
Hey, that's this game's genre. It's a dungeon crawler. It's like the old Zelda games.
You know what? That's a better description than Sonic game, I guess.
And we can power the rest of this podcast with the rotation of A Link to the Past rolling in its grave.
But yeah, it didn't infuriate me really. It was kind of just going through the game. So
yeah, it's part of the folly of this design that, a game that people called the worst for so long is just like, oh, that was boring and kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I was definitely, I feel like I probably got the most frustrated by it. And even then, I don't think I got frustrated enough to give up, but I don't think it was anger frustration. It was more just this game's wasting my time frustration.
You're not going to get post-traumatic Sonic disorder from this one.
No, I already got it from a different game that I don't remember.
Alright, well, let's move away from the mediocre end of the spectrum and into the slightly strange end of the spectrum. Let's talk about Sonic's Gameworld. Another Pico game, and our next edutainment game of Sonic.
So I could not actually get this game to work.
At all?
I could get it to load. I could not load into any of the minigames, though. So I watched a playthrough on YouTube.
I got it to run mostly fine. The only very painful problem was that the cursor didn't show up on the selection, so I just had to guess and try to position it to click on and enter each of the minigames. I was able to get almost all the minigames that were listed on Sonic Wiki I was referencing, but it was kind of annoying.
Watching the playthrough on YouTube made me kind of realize the Pico games, they're weird to emulate because you're kind of missing a big part of the Pico by not actually having a Sega Pico in front of you.
Yeah, that's something that's much more apparent here than it was in Tales and the Mucus Maker, is you need the leap pad book in front of you to tap on stuff, and that'll correspond to what's on the screen, and we don't have that.
Yeah, so we're kind of, as much as I don't think we're missing that much, we're still missing at least a part of the Sega Pico experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
I guess it's not enough to really matter because at the end of the day, I think the Pico games are probably some of the least important games we're going to play.
Oh yeah, no, we're talking about these for the historical factor and for the novelty, just in that they're kind of weird.
Exactly. We're not really talking about them because, ooh, Sonic. Or I guess we are talking about them because, ooh, Sonic.
That's exactly why.
Well,
and
yeah.
that is one thing that is interesting about this game, is that it's kind of the polar opposite to Tales and the Music Maker in terms of how it feels, because you go from weird-looking tails with some off-color hills to much more accurate sprite work that just looks like the Japanese Sonic artwork.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, I was impressed that this Tales of the Music Maker felt like almost a knockoff game.
Yeah,
this game felt like a Sonic game for kids, obviously. But yeah, the aesthetic was on point, and actually was nice.
Yeah, visually it looks like, as Devin said, it looks like the Japanese art. It looks quite nice.
You can select your character in this game, but it really just means who shows up on, whatever area screen talking to you.
Right.
Yeah, you only actually play as them proper in a few mini games, not most of them.
Yeah. Which this game does have a little bit of voice acting, which is pretty uncommon for 16-bit games.
Yeah, that was interesting, and like the voice acting, the stuff I heard in the playthrough I watched was surprisingly not bad. Also,
I mean, it feels a little children's television-y, but
oh
yeah,
yeah,
they
but that
don't.
makes sense for the context of the game.
Of course, they don't do a bad job. The thing is, I was trying to look up who any of the people who worked on this were, and I cannot find any of the actors for this game. I have not found them listed anywhere.
Damn, because once again, Robotnik's voice work, from what I heard, was probably the best.
Where were voices? Did I completely miss the voices?
I guess so, because you would have the characters show up on the title screen. You click one, and they would say "Yay!" and they in the map screens they would say, "What should we play?"
It must be an emulator limitation or something, because I never heard a single voice line. I definitely clicked the characters. Strange. Well, whatever. Oh well, neat. The sprite work, yes, is good, and it's interesting because they actually use just straight up some of the game sprites for a few things. I'm thinking of the mini game where you like nudge coconuts, palm trees.
Oh yeah.
But those sprites also have one frame, well, two frames technically, that are obviously just added for this game, and they look so wrong.
Yeah.
At the end, when you win or lose, they have like horribly drawn on faces that look at the screen, and it's so bad.
Yeah, and there's something like that in actually another Sonic Edutainment game. I don't know if we're gonna talk about Sonic X for the Leapster at any point, but that's a game like that where it mostly uses Sonic 3 sprites, but has to awkwardly morph them into Sonic Advance sprites for other animations.
Weird.
As for the mini-games themselves, I would not say that they're any deeper than Music Maker, other than the control is much more awkward to actually click on them because they don't really show up on the screen.
Right, yeah. Like I said, I'd look up a list, but also I didn't even realize you were supposed to click on things at first. I was like, what was going on? And then I realized that was what it was. At first, I just talked to the characters a whole bunch, which, by the way, the first one that happened was Rocky just popped on the screen and said, "Do you like my mustache?" And I was just like, what?
There's a million little things that you can click on by mistake that are not games, and I wish I had been able to find all of those, but it's really hard when you don't have the reference for what you're supposed to be clicking.
Yeah.
But yeah, the mini games are all right. For some reason, two of them, the coconuts one I just mentioned and the car race one, are literally just button mashers, which that's good for the kids. Get them to destroy their fingers.
Hell yeah.
Hey, I mean, this is the generation that grew up grinding their palms on the N64 joystick on Mario Party, so...
Oh, boy. I'm looking at my notes again, and that's not actually the only bad influence on children. Toy Drop gives unrealistic expectations about how crane games work.
I like the little Sonic and Amy dolls, but yes, you are correct.
No, yeah, it's cute, but it's really easy for some reason.
Let's see, what do I have written on here about the minigames? The Eggman Whack-A-Mole, like, I didn't figure out how it worked at first, because I kept trying to click to whack, but you have to mouse over them and then press, whatever is the button bound to be. Because I'm trying to think on the Pico is you would put your stylus over it and then you would hit a separate button.
Speaking of Robotnik in the minigames, maybe I'm just a fan of Robotnik. I mean, yes, I am. He's a great character. But he was fun in a lot of the minigames. There's this one concentration game where you're trying to match cards, and you start playing it, and you're like, okay, it's a match game. And then, like, halfway through, he just, like, jumps on the table, jumbles up all the cards. I'm like, that is so in character.
Yeah, he's great as a guy that just messes with people. And I think that is going to be, like, part of the central theme, is that we already like Robotnik in most of his appearances, but I think it's going to come to be true that Robotnik is consistently the best written, best acted, and best portrayed character in every Sonic universe.
Well, I think on best portrayed, at least, they do a great job casting for Robotnik.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. Whether it's Baldry in Adventures of Sonic or friggin' Jim Cummings in Sat AM. He's great as well. But just Eggman he's just the best. And you are right that it is casting.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just extremely well done casting.
The weirdest minigame for me was the Sonic vs. Robotnik game where you spin a wheel to determine like a turn-based ring-throwing battle.
Yeah. At first I was like, are they gonna punch each other? A little disappointed they didn't. But
yeah, rep that Sonic Eraser lore.
Yeah, but it's still not expected for Sonic and Eggman to just duke it out in close combat like that without Robotnik being in a machine.
Mano.
I was surprised that this game actually has like a final confrontation and ending. When you select Diamond Maze, there's an introductory cutscene where Robotnik simply says, "I will beat you." Oh wow, way to build up the tension. But but after you collect more Chaos Emeralds than him, not all of them, but just more, that counts as a victory somehow. Then it actually rolls credits, and I'm like, oh wow, I beat the game. It's a collection of minigames, and there's an ending for some reason.
It's like if you put an ending on like an anthology movie, or like you run like a Looney Tunes like That's All Folks thing at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in conclusion, another weird edutainment game.
Which I don't understand how it's education in any respect, by the way.
It really is not edutainment in any way.
Yeah, I don't think it's actually any kind of edutainment. It's just a kid's game.
Yeah. But we have something here that can only be edutainment. In fact, I'd say it's mostly just edu and almost no-tainment. But we are going to talk about Sonic Schoolhouse. This is one of the, like, laughed-at Sonic games because it's just absolutely... It is the most.
The most Sonic game.
Well, it's not the most Sonic game, it's just the most.
No. I've got to say, it might be because it ran poorly on my PC without playing music and some other things just didn't work. But I was a little disappointed with Schoolhouse, because I'd heard about Schoolhouse a lot, and honestly, it was just kind of dull, less wacky than I expected.
I think without the shrill MIDI music, then yes, it may be a little bit less making an impression. I mean, it kind of speaks for itself. It's you play nondescript animal character with terrifying CG model, and you walk in first person through Sonic's school that he has, I guess, and you do, like, math and spelling questions.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. By the end of it, I was really just like, I mean, it's a kid's game, so I guess I shouldn't expect a lot, but also I think I would find this really boring as a kid even, and there are just much better kids games out there, edutainment games and all.
I probably
disappointing even as field, I think.
So, I have a bit of a story that goes with this game about trying to actually play it. So, my first thought with this game was, let's try to run it in a virtual machine. So, I spent like 2 hours trying to correctly set up a Windows 3.0 virtual machine, because I thought this was a Windows 3.0 game.
It is not.
Turns out it's a Windows 95 game, or 98, I'm not actually sure.
Either.
So, I had to spend like another 45 minutes getting Windows 95 set up. And then it turns out the game doesn't support 16-bit colors. You need 256 colors. And for the patch for Windows 95 to enable 256 colors would not work for me. So I eventually brute forced my way into the game's executable, ran it, and there's a reason why it needs 256 colors. With only 16 colors, the game is terrifying.
Oh my
Commodore
gosh.
64 mode, baby.
Or fucking ZX Spectrum mode. And then the best part is, while I was doing that, Devin realized what you need to do to get it running on modern Windows is to slap a couple 32-bit drivers into your program files, and boom, it fucking works.
Yep, so all that was wasted.
Yeah!
And sadly, it also harmed our impressions for this, because it also meant that we didn't get to hear Sonic's lovely voice acting in this game.
I got his lovely voice acting.
I got his lovely voice acting.
Well, I didn't get it in the Schoolhouse, is what it is.
Oh, so I got it in the Schoolhouse as well.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
Sonic!
I'm Sonic.
Click on me for help!
Click on me for help.
Yeah, that was all I heard. Okay, I thought it wasn't working correctly in game.
Okay, yeah.
That was honestly enough, though, to get the experience.
I did not need to hear all of Sonic's voice acting. I'm not sure why I heard all of it, but
yeah,
I sure as hell didn't need to hear it.
The Schoolhouse itself kind of looks like a novelty McDonald's.
I suppose so, yeah.
Like, it reminds me of, like, or not even necessarily McDonald's, but there was, like, the big Burger King that had a really, really big, play structure when I was, 5 years old or whatever, that was near my dad's old work or something.
It reminds me. I like the novelty McDonald's because it reminds me of the McDonald's that have the big playpen areas and also have like the N64s set up. Like still have N64s like 25 years later.
Yeah, there's that one down near the IHOP that was where I first played Kirby 64, and I think they've still got them.
So yeah, that's an interesting way of putting it. I'd also like to point out playing this game on a modern computer just kind of feels wrong.
Nothing about it feels right. I mean, you don't get a full screen resolution either way.
So, I don't have the most baller gamer PC. My PC is pretty like 2020 mid-range, but it still felt weird playing it on my modern, 64-bit computer.
You wanted to set up a CRT?
Yes, actually, it felt like I should bust out like a Windows 95 PC and play it that way.
And my thing with all this is just like the amount of actual content that's in this game is
not worth it.
It's equivalent to like a free Flash game.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, I think I would have been disappointed even if everything was working correctly. Honestly, I would have been equally disappointed to be like, oh, okay, so math, all right, that's math, and then go to spelling, oh, it's just math, except you're spelling, but it's the same math. They didn't change anything.
Yep.
I do like that Eggman goes around trying to steal the correct answers from you.
Is that what Eggman's doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would explain a lot why I lost my answer once.
He does a very bad job of it.
I didn't even know that's what he was doing. I thought he was just flying around because, oh, it's a Sonic game, we need the villain.
And the only things that you do outside of spelling or math questions is you have recess, where you do incredibly basic, like, matching puzzles.
Right.
And then you have field trips, which are not actually field trips because you don't go anywhere. You just have everyone sit on a bus, and then you click on one of the horrifying CG animals, and you get a little FMV about the real animal.
Here's a fun fact. I went on a field trip and the game immediately crashed. So I decided, you know what, I've played enough Sonic Schoolhouse after that.
This really has the...
most of it.
I did recess and all 4 rooms, I think. So, yeah, I don't
really
think it
has, the experience of before current era PC gaming where everyone has their own set of problems and things that do and don't work depending on the machine.
Yeah, I got some weird DLL error, and I'm like, you know what? Not worth playing anymore.
Yeah, I just listened to the field trips because the video didn't work, but the sound did. And I'm like, okay, yeah, generic educational video, I guess.
Yeah, and my game didn't crash at all.
Good for you.
You got the most full experience.
I will say, I talked about how boring this game is. I mean, there are a few... I can't deny that it is a little bit wacky here and there. I think the wackiest stuff to see is actually the menu. Like, they just... I don't know what they were thinking with the main menu. Like, everything you click on makes, like, some sort of wacky cartoon Yahoo or something.
Yeah.
And distorts in a bizarre manner.
Oh, all the character animations are scary.
Yeah.
The main menu has a Pentium button for some reason, and I forgot to check what it does. I just remembered that.
If the game's running slow, try clicking here. 486 instead of Pentium means your game will run faster. It just won't be quite as pretty.
I'm amazed that this game could even take advantage of a 3D card in the first place, because it's built like a Doom game.
Okay, so yeah, that was also on my notes. A few times I'm like, whoa, the Doom vibes are strong in this one. One is when I tested out 2-player mode, and I was surprised to see that there are completely static, but static with all directions 3D models for each of the players, and I'm just like, this is weird.
I forgot this game had 2-player mode.
Yeah, it does.
I noticed it.
I'm just picturing like 2 kids stuck at a computer having to use keyboard turning and movement on the same keyboard, looking at 2 different screens like crammed together. That couldn't have been any fun if anyone ever did that.
I can't imagine it was that engaging. It does have joystick support, to be fair, so you could have a joystick and a keyboard.
I wonder if I could have used my Xbox controller.
You know how there's those like weird challenge runs, like, oh, we played Overwatch with bananas, or oh, I beat Dark Souls using a microwave as a controller, or something like that. People need to do that for this game. They need to use an actual school to control the game.
Oh gosh.
Jesus.
Which at a certain point, like, maybe I don't know how you'd do that. Like, maybe you'd have the kids vote democratically on what button to be pressed.
That would take like an eternity.
Twitch plays Sonic Schoolhouse.
Oh yeah. But of the whole game, the part that was most like Sonic and also had the strongest Doom vibes, it was basically Sonic, but Doom, was the playground activity where you're collecting rings and running from actual badniks and then Eggman again. And I'm like, this is so weird. It's basically a very simple 3D first-person Sonic.
Well, and it makes me think, because, like, not that long ago, Main Memory, who is a very prolific Sonic the Hedgehog modder, she got the assets to this game mostly extracted, and so it's like you could recreate this in basically anything because it has completely interchangeable and basic mechanics. Finally, we can get, the strafing that we need.
Oh, that would have been nice. So, out of curiosity, does this game have any connection to Baldi's Basics?
This game inspired Baldi's Basics is what it is.
That doesn't surprise me. Okay, that's what I figured.
I was going to have something else to say about Baldi's Basics, but no, that game speaks for itself, and it doesn't say much. But, we need a little bit of banal happiness in our lives before we are dragged deep into the pit of despair that is the Tiger Electronics Gamecom and its version, in massive air quotes, of Sonic Jam.
Yeah.
Because holy shit.
Oh boy.
So, did either of you know a thing about the Gamecom outside of this?
Yeah, I do, only because I watched Stop Skeletons from Fighting.
No, I barely know anything about non-mainstream gaming apparatus.
Yeah, so Tiger Electronics, they mostly make just little LCD games, or other types of toys, that might be better. And this console is proof they should have stuck with that.
Yeah. I would also like to point out real quick, the company has no connection to the Gizmondo people, despite both being called Tiger.
Oh.
I just wanted to point that out real quick, because I, for a long time, thought they were the same company.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, they're not, because Gizmondo is Tiger Telematics, and this is Tiger Electronics.
Good information. Gizmondo also sucks, though, right?
It does suck, Dick.
Okay.
I guess that's not specifically a bad thing. It's bad at it.
So, anyway,
yeah.
I guess we should explain what the game is. Yes, it's a version, in quotes, of Sonic Jam. So it tries to be a collection of, not Sonic 1 for some reason, Sonic 2, 3, and Sonic and Knuckles. But because I have to assume this is like one of the most limited gaming systems I've ever seen, it's black and white. There's almost no content from the games. It just has a few, zones, kind of, except they're not actually from the games. They're redesigned layouts. Mm-hmm. It's just Emerald Hill, Mushroom Hill, and Angel Island Zone. You can play as Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles impressively. Impressively? That's not really that impressive. This game is not impressive. Interestingly, in all of the games...
It's impressive that they're
not games, they're just zones. Yeah. But very stripped down, and it really has a bootleg feel to it. It's very stiff. Sometimes the animations jump back to the beginning without looping smoothly. It's weird.
Yeah, you say that this has a bootleg feel, and it does, but there are better bootleg Sonic games than this.
There are, yeah.
Yes.
Like, fucking Somari, that game sucks, but is better than this. Sonic Adventure 7 for the Game Boy, that's better than this. And that game is even worse than Somari, and so that's saying something. But you hit it right on the head of the nail there. I don't think they have any bosses, but I didn't get to the end of...
So I played the entirety of this game.
Oh,
there
really?
Were bosses, yes. There were bosses in all the... Really, they're just different zones.
Yeah, it's the same game.
Right.
Yeah, it certainly feels exactly the same, which is not polished at all. Very prototype. Not even this isn't even prototype level. But yeah, no, there are bosses, but very strange boss choices. I played them in order. So I started with Sonic 2, and then I think there was like 3 or 4 acts per zone, I think. But they're not the bosses you would expect. At the end of Act 2 of Emerald Hill, and suddenly there's a chemical plant boss. And I'm like, what? And I don't remember what the second one is. But the ironic thing is, at the end of Emerald Hill Act 4, the final boss of Sonic 2 is the drill boss.
Huh.
It is actually worthy of a final boss, though, because it's really annoying to fight. I don't know how to describe it exactly, but, like...
Well, so we've a little bit glossed over the single biggest issue with this game, which is that it runs at the worst frame rate of any game we have played on this show and any game we ever will play.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It is so choppy, and, the fact that the controls are lagged, that's also bad, but if they were lagged and the game ran smoothly, it would be easier to deal with.
That is certainly true. What I was saying, I don't know, the drill boss, I think it's because, it's difficulty to control, and the fact that the front has you don't want to hit the front because it has a hazard. Most of the bosses are pretty easy because you can just hit them, wail on them because the arenas are all very basic.
Yeah.
And then they just die in seconds. There are some exceptions to that, though. I must say, the bosses were the most interesting part of this game for me. I must say, actually, I think my tolerance has just been increased or something. But with abusing save states, which is what I do for all these games anyway, I mean, it was not a good game, but it's not a...
Wait a minute.
The emulator had save states?
Save states?
Yes. Yeah, there were save states. No wonder you couldn't make it through. You didn't play with save states?
I couldn't find them.
Existed.
I used the exact same emulator you gave me, and I saw, save states, score.
Damn it.
Wow. No wonder you guys suffered so badly and couldn't play through the whole thing. No, I played it the way I play all these games.
I mean, yeah, you had the right idea.
Well, if I had save states, I would have gotten to the end too. I'm glad that somebody did, because that proves
that what I'd heard, that some of the levels were just incompletable.
No, the levels definitely aren't incomplete. Okay, wait a minute, I take that back. So, I played as Tails because I'm like, Tails is going to be the easiest character. So, I remember there was a part in Emerald Hill where there's this huge bottomless pit. In Emerald Hill also? Did they even play Sonic 2?
I think that the first act of each zone is mildly similar to the one in the games, and all of the others are just they made it up.
Probably.
Honestly, I didn't find any of them similar.
Well, because I'm remembering, Angel Island Act 1 has, the tree that you run around before you fight the fire breath.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting thing about Sonic 3. I was the most impressed with the Sonic 3 stages because I was like... By this time, my expectations were just, underground. And so, but Sonic 3 actually integrated a number of things I wouldn't expect it to. There are special stages? Special stages? They have a version of Blue Spheres. Yeah.
Wait.
Actually, I did see that.
It's like grab the gray spheres instead of the blue spheres.
Yeah, it's black and white spheres because it's a black and white.
That is hilarious that they have to say that because their console doesn't have color.
Yeah, but
I'll give them props for actually saying it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not a good version of Blue Spheres at all. It's very because it's stiff,
right?
And I like Blue Spheres actually, so that's a darn shame.
Blue Spheres isn't that bad.
Where credit is due, it's there. Also, it actually integrates some of the cutscenes with Sonic 3, and I always thought that one of the iconic bits of Sonic 3 were the little cutscenes between levels and in the middle of them sometimes. So actually, in place of bosses. For some reason, it has... So, Fire Breath burns Angel Island in the middle of Act 1. It does that at the end of Act 1, and then that's just it, in place of a boss. Although you can still hit it, similar to the cutscene, and it can still hurt you for some reason. So
I didn't want to risk it, so I didn't.
And then, at the end of Act 3, it's... Is that ship Flying Battery? I think it's Flying Battery. It doesn't really look the same as Flying Battery, but I always assumed it was Flying Battery.
I think at the point that Sonic 3 was developed, especially since Flying Battery was originally supposed to be after Carnival Night, it probably would have been, yeah.
Well, either way, Flying Battery shows up, although the cutscene is bugged because the game is just put together badly. I couldn't get in front of the bombs, which is, hilarious. Because in the initial game, it's I'm not even trying. This isn't even a tense moment.
Yeah, all you do is hold right.
Yeah. But in this version of the game, I was actually trying to jump between the bombs which was honestly an interesting shakeup. But the interesting thing also was that it couldn't actually finish me off either. I lost my rings initially, which, oh, by the way, when you lose rings in this game, it's hilarious. The game like freezes and like is covered in rings for a second because it just cannot handle it. But I lost my rings, and then when I had no rings, it hit me. But then I lost rings, even though I had no rings, and then I could recollect the rings I dropped. So then I could collect rings by getting hit when I had no rings.
Weird.
But it wasn't boring, at least. Yeah, honestly, there was a lot of weirdness in this game. The final boss of Sonic 3 is the boss that you normally fight at the end of Angel Island Zone, the little egg scorcher, is that what it's called? Where he burns the bridge. Although for some reason the bridge just isn't there, and so you can just run and die instead of him burning it. And I'm like, great. And it's bugged because the bosses are often very true to their regular versions, but they're just glitched in some way. It tries to go in front and behind the waterfall. It has a little animation where water falls over it, but the sprite doesn't actually disappear when it goes behind the waterfall. So it's like water whooshes over him, and then he's still there, but he's invincible. And that confused me for a second, because I'm like, why can't I hit him? Why can't I hit him? And then I had to think, wait, how does this work in Sonic 3? I realized it was a glitch.
You know, we've had some complaints about the way that Sonic Origins has been presented, and it's, you know, this game is a good reminder of exactly how bad a compilation of Sonic games can be.
Yeah.
Certainly true. Certainly true.
This, I think, this has to be the nadir. I don't think that anything can get as non-functional as this. There might be something that makes us angrier than this.
Oh, sure, but I agree. I don't think anything could be quite as...
It's the most broken.
Yeah, I think it really is.
It certainly is broken, but honestly, maybe it was just because I was in a chill mood, but I kind of just chilled with this game. Also, the music is oddly calm. It has the same music theme for the entire everything. It's not like Sonic music at all.
What it is actually though is it's like Frankensteined pieces of some of the classic games if you listen really closely, which is hard to do because the sound effects completely delete the soundtrack whenever they play.
Oh, interesting.
It's got a whole one audio channel.
Okay then. Well, that's kind of neat actually, I guess, depending on how it was pulled off. I don't know, I didn't hate the music. It kind of just gave a calm vibe to everything.
Yeah.
Again, I was abusing save state, so that's why I was unfazed by the brokenness of everything.
Sometimes your abuse saved you from being abused, is what it is.
The most helpful brokenness, actually, was I discovered at some point in the middle that, okay, first of all, you can't charge a spin dash, which triggers me. But what you can do with the spin dash is hold forward after you let off, and then you never, ever exit the ball state. Except if you're on a very steep slope. So what I did after I realized that is, you just spin dash at the start and then you're invincible because you just destroy every enemy in your path and you keep going for pretty much forever. It's kind of strange, but useful.
So we've gone from a game that feels like it could have been made in Flash to a game that feels like it could have been posted on like scratch.mit.edu.
I was about to say, it's the kind of glitch you'd see in a Scratch game, all right.
That is a website I haven't thought about in years.
Yeah, well, if this game is any evidence, then there's a good reason for that.
Probably.
But you know what? All things considered, there is one very, very big bright side to this game, and that's that none of us ever have to play it again.
I knew that was going to be a backhanded compliment.
Yeah, I think I gotta agree with that.
It also makes us very excited to not play more video games for the future.
At least for a while.
Yes, because we are done with the classic Sonic video games. We are not going to be playing another Sonic game until Sonic Adventure. But in the meantime, we have 3 cartoon series, 1 animated movie, and a whole bunch of weird-ass comic books between us and Sonic Adventure. So starting next week, we are going to be talking about the very first Sonic cartoon, The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, and it is going to be a trip.
It's certainly unique.
You know, maybe we'll come out with, we're not going to have nothing to say.
No, not at all.
No, we'll definitely have stuff to say.
Honestly, watching through that whole thing, it's like Stockholm syndrome, kind of. I mean, I was somewhat nostalgic at first, then I got bored of it, but then by the end, I was like into it for some reason.
Well, if you fans listening out there want to be nostalgic and then bored and then into something, then go ahead and smash that like button and click subscribe or whatever. I don't know. That's how you end videos typically. And we're going to see you guys all next week.